So if your digestive issues seem to worsen around certain people or after difficult conversations, your gut health and your boundary health might be more connected than you think. So I'm going to share something that revolutionized my own understanding of digestive health forever. Your gut has 500 million neurons, and they're all paying attention to your relationships and boundaries, folks. If you're doing everything right for your gut health, but still struggling, this video might just explain why. So let me start with a story that changed everything for me. I was working with a woman named Lisa who had tried every gut protocol imaginable, right? Probably this might sound familiar to you too. She'd eliminated, gluten, dairy, sugar, nightshades, lectins, everything. She took the best probiotics money could buy. She'd spent thousands on functional medicine testing. Her gut was still a mess. But here's what was interesting. Her symptoms weren't consistent. Some weeks were better than others with no clear correlation to what she was eating. Through our work together, we discovered that her pattern was different. Her digestive issues flared during weeks when she was managing her elderly mother's medical crises, mediating conflicts between her siblings and being the emotional support system for her struggling marriage. Lisa's gut wasn't responding to food, it was responding to the emotional overwhelm of being unable to set boundaries with the people in her life. For years, I couldn't understand why my own digestion would fall apart during stressful periods. I'd eliminated trigger foods, taken probiotics, tried every gut protocol available. Nothing worked consistently because I was treating the symptom instead of the root cause. Then I discovered something that revolutionized my approach to digestive health, that your gut processes emotions just like it processes food. And if you're constantly absorbing others' emotional states while never setting your boundaries, your digestive system pays the price. Here's what I learned about the gut-boundary connection. When you can't say no, when your nervous system stays in a chronic state of activation, this isn't just uncomfortable, it's inflammatory. Your body interprets boundary violations as threats to your safety. And your gut contains more immune tissue than any other part of your body. It's amazing. It's constantly assessing what is safe to let in and what needs to be rejected. It is a boundary. When you're regularly allowing emotional toxicity into your system through poor boundaries, your gut starts treating everything as a potential threat, including food. So when your nervous system is activated from taking on others' problems, blood flow literally diverts away from digestion towards your muscles and brain to handle the perceived emergency. That's a fight or flight response. Your stomach acid production decreases, which affects your ability to break down proteins properly. Your gut lining becomes more permeable, allowing inflammatory particles to pass right through. Your beneficial bacteria population shift towards inflammatory strains. This is all happening in real time. What happens to digestion when boundaries are violated? Blood flow diverts away again from digestive organs. The stomach acid reduces. That affects protein breakdown and mineral absorption. Gut lining becomes permeable, allowing toxins and undigested food particles through into the bloodstream. I started tracking my digestive symptoms alongside my social interactions and discovered a clear pattern. My bloating was worse after conversations where I couldn't speak my truth. My stomach issues flared when I was managing someone else's crises while neglecting my own needs. My food sensitivities seemed to fluctuate with relationship stress. The connection became undeniable. My gut was processing emotions my mind wouldn't face. So let me tell you another client. Her name is Maria, who had chronic SIBO that wouldn't respond to treatment. She'd done multiple rounds of antibiotics, followed strict diets, taken all the right supplements. The bacterial overgrowth kept returning though. Through our work together, we discovered that Maria's SIBO flares always coincided with her visits from her emotionally manipulative sister. Maria couldn't say no to these visits because of family guilt, but her body was rejecting the emotional toxicity by creating an internal environment where harmful bacteria could flourish. When she finally set boundaries with her sister and limited these stressful visits, her SIBO resolved more effectively than any medical treatment had ever achieved. Her gut doesn't know the difference between your stress and the emotional weight you carry for others. When you're constantly absorbing everyone else's feelings, managing their crises, or saying yes when your body screams no, your digestive system treats this as continuous threat. This is especially challenging for those of us in helping professions or natural caregivers. We are trained to be attuned to the other's needs, often at the expense of our own nervous system. But here's what I wish someone had told me earlier in my life. You can't digest properly when you're in survival mode. The parasympathetic nervous system, that's your rest and digest mode, is required for proper digestion. But chronic people-pleasing keeps you symptomatic in sympathetic activation. Your body can't tell the difference between a real emergency and the emergency of disappointing someone by setting a boundary. I remember one particularly challenging week where I was supporting 3 friends through major life crises, also dealing with my own work and relationship stress. By Friday, my system had completely shut down. I couldn't eat without severe bloating and pain. My body was literally rejecting food because it was too busy processing everyone else's emotional emergencies. That's when I realized that all my gut protocols were addressing the symptoms while ignoring the root cause. Emotional overwhelm from poor boundaries was creating the inflammation I was trying to heal. The healing began when I started protecting my nervous system like I protected my diet. I learned to say, let me think about that instead of immediately agreeing to requests. I practiced deep breathing before difficult conversations. I set limits on how much emotional labor I'd take on in a day. Most importantly, I started asking myself, is this feeling mine or is it someone else's? When I noticed digestive upset after interactions, I'd check whether I was carrying emotional weight that didn't belong to me. This improvement in my gut health was remarkable. And once I addressed the boundary piece, my bloating decreased significantly. My food sensitivities became less reactive, and my energy actually improved because my body could finally absorb nutrients instead of being in constant defensive mode. I worked with a client who had been struggling with gastroparesis, that's delayed stomach emptying, caused by severe nausea and early satiety. She had tried every medical intervention available with minimal improvement. Through our sessions, we discovered that her symptoms were worse during periods when she was caring for her mother with dementia while also managing her own family's needs. She felt guilty setting any kind of boundary around her availability for her mother's care. When she finally allowed herself to hire some help, set specific hours for caregiving, her gastroparesis symptoms improved dramatically. Her stomach started emptying normally, and she stopped trying to empty everyone else's emotional bucket. See the connection there? This gut-brain axis, it's a two-way communication highway. Your brain affects your gut, but your gut also affects your brain. When you're constantly violating your own boundaries and overriding your body's no, you create inflammation that affects your entire system. This inflammation doesn't just cause digestive symptoms. It affects your mood, your energy, your sleep, and your immune function. Everything is connected, and the gut is often where the breakdown shows up first. Learning to set boundaries isn't just about relationships, it's about your physical health too. And every time you say yes when your body says no, you're choosing short-term people-pleasing over long-term wellness. The most profound healing happens when you start treating boundary violations like food poisoning, something toxic that your system needs to reject rather than accommodate. Your gut health, my friends, and boundary health are intimately connected. If you're doing everything right for your digestion but still struggling, it might be time to examine your relationship patterns and people-pleasing tendencies. Your digestive system is incredibly intelligent. It knows the difference between nourishing and depleting situations. When you start honoring its wisdom about emotional nutrition, not just food, real healing becomes possible. So I ask you, what boundaries might your digestive system be asking for that you haven't been able or willing to set? Your gut health might depend on your answer.